Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Create Your Own Reality podcast, where we share stories and practical tips to help you level up your mindset, reconnect with your purpose, and boost your confidence. If this is your first time listening to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're able to take something from this episode to turn your day from good to great. Let's get into it. If you've been following along for the past couple months at least, you know how big a part my Pilates teacher certification has played in my life. Now, I'm sure some of you may be tired about me talking about this, but today we're taking a little bit of a different spin. I'm sure some of you might still be in that phase of life where you're not exactly sure what it is that you want to do with your life, whether that be a career that you're trying to choose or whether or not you're teetering on moving the side hustle into a small business. And I really just want to encourage you to take the time to really list out what the pros and cons of each of those situations may be. We're going to break that down a little bit. So, in terms of moving a side hobby to a business, I want you to make a list of pros and cons of just keeping it as a side hobby. You know, if you already have a full time career, maybe in a job that you actually really enjoy, but you're just doing that side hobby because it's something that you also enjoy and it helps make a little bit of extra money. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We love a good side hustle. However, some people are definitely on that teeter-totter edge of making the decision of either building it into more of a business to replace their 9 to 5, or again, just keeping it as a side hobby. So starting with that side hobby, make a list of pros and cons of what it would be like if you kept that thing as just your side hobby. Now, after making that list, I want you to look at which one outweighs the other. Did you find more pros than cons? Or did you find more cons than pros? This alone can really help you decide whether or not you want to elevate that side hobby into a small business. Now, vice versa. If you already were contemplating and trying to prepare those next steps to building that side hobby up into a small business, I want you to make that same list. Really decide the pros and cons, if you haven't already, of course, of what that would do for you. Are there more pros than cons? Or are there more cons than pros? Maybe it is the right step to move that side hobby into a business. However, maybe now's not the right time. And I think that is also a big thing that we really have to take into consideration. Because regardless of whether or not you want to do that thing right now, maybe there are other parts of your life that won't allow you to do that thing right now. Whether that be a financial aspect, whether that be family matters, personal matters. Of course, as we get older, there's more things that we have to take accountability for, and there's more things that we become responsible for. So, as much as most of us, I'm sure, want to be able to just leave our 9 to 5, we don't always have that safety net or thing to fall back on. And even with that same example, for myself, with my Pilates teacher certification, I have had that on my vision board for the past 3 years. It has been a goal of mine, again, for the past 3 years. And, you know, it wasn't the right time until last year. And, I think that's just something important to note as well. Even if you really want to make a change in a certain area of your life, maybe now is not the right time. Maybe you still need to learn some of those lessons that you haven't learned from that time and space in your life. Because even for myself in other areas, whether it was friendships or jobs or relationships, even if I knew that they weren't 100% of what I really wanted them to be, there were still things that I needed to learn from those places or from those people. And with that being said, I knew I couldn't take that leap to either leave the job or the relationship or completely cut off those friendships. And I think that also translates again into career, side hustle, or building your own business. Because all of these aspects of our lives coincide to really create a well-rounded reality and a well-rounded life for ourselves. Now, with all of that being said, taking your pros and cons into consideration, if you haven't already done that evaluation that I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I encourage you to just take some time to maybe create a new vision board for yourself, or just do a little bit of journaling about what your dream life looks like. And then weigh that up against the pros and cons lists of what it is that you really want to do. Just taking those couple action steps can really help you decide what your next step should be, or where you should move in the trajectory of your own life. Because the crazy thing is, we're not given a roadmap. We don't have a certain direction that we have to follow. Maybe as children, we were encouraged by our parents to be ambitious and move towards a certain career that they had in mind for us. But as adults, we get to make our own decisions. And I think while it may be scary sometimes, it's also the most amazing thing that we can possibly do. So yeah, I really hope that helped shed some light on any decisions or in-between spaces that you may be facing at the moment. And I also hope that gave you some hope in itself, because I understand how challenging it can be to feel stuck at a crossroads and not exactly know what your next step is. But I think it's really important to, one, trust yourself and know that you have the right answers for what your life has in store for you. And two, to trust in God's timing, to trust in the universe's timing, whatever higher power it is that you believe in, because they know what's best for you. And that's not something to discount. You're more powerful than you think. And I always want you to remember that. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you liked this episode, please be sure to leave a review and share it with a friend. Comment down below to share your takeaways with others, and join the email list from the link in the show notes. Until next time, stay motivated, be inspired, and don't forget to encourage others.